Welcome back to the JavaScript Essential Training Series. I am Mike King, your host, and in this tutorial we'll be talking about variables and strings inside of JavaScript. So we're looking at using string variables in JavaScript. In this tutorial we'll be working with string variables inside JavaScript. String variables are an important aspect of data storage in programming, and we need to understand how to join them inside the JavaScript programming language. We've learned about the document.write function in JavaScript. Now we'll add to that by learning how to concatenate to a string using that function. We'll learn about the concatenation symbol inside JavaScript. And if you're not aware what a concatenation symbol is, it's a way of joining strings together inside a programming language and making it appear as if they're one string. Concatenation is a process of combining two or more strings into one longer string. Inside of JavaScript, we use the plus operator to actually join strings together. And that's different for most programming languages. Most of them are different. JavaScript happens to use the plus operator. So let's move into our development environment and we'll demonstrate what we've just discussed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and minimize our presentation and drop into our development environment. You'll notice I've got my template.html file loaded in my Sublime Text 3. I actually have already confirmed that my Apache server is up and running. I've got my Chrome browser loaded up into my JavaScript folder, and I've got my template file loaded. I'm going to go ahead and save the template file, and I'm going to save this one as stringvariables.html. So I'm just going to do a save as, and I'm going to go stringvariables.html. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a title inside my title tag. And I'm going to go ahead and give me an H3 inside of my container. And go ahead and close out that H3. Let's go ahead and save those changes. Make certain that we got it loaded inside of our browser with stringvariables.html. And we got the right file up, so now we can move along with our demonstration. What I want to do is I actually want to demonstrate how we concatenate strings inside of JavaScript, because it is an important aspect of what we're going to be doing as we learn this programming language. So I've got the file loaded up in our browser. Let's create a couple of variables. So I'm going to go ahead right below my H3. And as we must do with JavaScript, create our script tags so that we can actually put our code in between those tags. Let me give us some space. And I'm going to create a variable. We know that we've got to declare the variable, so I'm going to create a variable called Mike. I'm going to create a variable name, and give it a value of Mike. So just as we had done in the previous exercise, I've got this variable name and I've assigned it the value of Mike. I'm going to end that with a semicolon. I'm going to create another variable called age, and I'm going to assign that a value of 42 and end that with a semicolon. Now what I want to do is I want to come down and I want to show you how we can join these strings together. We've used this document.write function. I'm going to go ahead and indent these, by the way. We've used this document.write function quite a few times in the previous tutorials, and I'll be using it again, but we're going to be using it a little bit differently. So I'm going to say document.write, open up my parentheses, and now what I want to do is I want the value of the name variable plus, and this is where the concatenation comes in. So I'm adding to that value a quotation mark, a space, is my name, and my age is, I'm going to put another space, and I'm going to concatenate, in other words, use another plus sign, and then I'm going to put the age variable. So what I've done, and I actually want to put a period here, so in order to put a period, I'll need another concatenation symbol, quotation mark, period, quotation mark. And then I want to come outside the parentheses and end that with a semicolon. So basically what I've done is I've built a sentence here. I've taken the values of my variable name, and I've said Mike is my name, and my age is 42. And I've joined those two variables to this text, and I've ended it with a period. So if I go ahead and save all those changes and I refresh my browser window, we should get a nice sentence on our screen. Mike is my name and my age is 42. So we've taken the values of our variables, we've concatenated them into this text string, and we've written them into our browser window. And we do this a lot inside of programming. So it's important that you understand not only how concatenation works. I'm going to go ahead and take these blank lines out. Spread this out a little bit. Great time to pause if you want to type this in if you don't have access to the exercise files. One thing I do want to point out also, by the way, I've been actually putting in text JavaScript inside my type attribute for my script tag. You may not be aware, but in HTML 4.01, that was a requirement. In HTML5, it's no longer a requirement. It's an option. Whenever the script tags are seen in HTML5, it is assumed it is JavaScript. The rendering engines make the assumption that we're going to see JavaScript next. All right, just want to point that out. I still use it as a best practice. I still use text/JavaScript because it is a best practice, but it is no longer required. I'm going to put in a new set of script tags. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to declare our few variables. I'm going to say variable x. And I want variable x to be equal to I have been very busy. I'm going to end that quotation mark, end that with a semicolon. Then I'm going to create a new variable y. And this variable is going to have the statement today. If I could learn how to spell, and that with an exclamation point, and that with a semicolon. And then I'm going to have another variable z, and variable z is going to be equal to you should drop by tomorrow. And that with a period. Oops. Enclose that in quotation marks because it will not be a string value without my quotation marks. And I'm going to come down. Let's go ahead. Oops, forgot to end that with my semicolon. Save all those changes. And again, based on what we've done in the previous exercise, I could do the same thing, but now I'm just going to do it with variables, and you can see it's a little bit different. So I'll say document.write. Open my parentheses, and this one's going to be a lot simpler. I'm going to say x plus y plus z. And just by putting the three variables together, because I've already put in space is inside my quotation marks, it's going to give me a little separation in my sentences. We've actually built this statement inside of our browser window. Let's go ahead and save the changes. Great time to pause if you want to type it in. I'm going to refresh the browser window. And we've got this nice big sentence based on just bringing those three variable values back together and concatenating them. Because it was strictly variables that we were playing with, I didn't have to worry about spacing or quotation marks or any of that. I just put the values of the variables right inside my document.write. And it displayed it in my browser window. So the concatenation symbol is an important aspect of working with variables in any programming language. So it's important that you understand how it works, how we join things together. And again, you're going to see many examples of this as we go through these tutorials. I'll be doing this a lot as we work with values inside JavaScript. So get comfortable using it, as you'll be using it often as we move forward, not only in this set of tutorials, but if you're following along in any of my other tutorials on PHP or any of the other programming languages that I do for the web, you'll see that we concatenate in all our programming languages. The symbol may be different, but all the concepts are the same. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.